DMase, Vingan, and Donick, 1025. The Game, Willy Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, and Connor Newt here with you. We hope you are having a wonderful Tuesday. So I walk in the studio, and on the desk are two seed oil-free PB&Js. And as you all know, Robert Saleh has... what's the word I'm looking for here? He's banned seed oils from the Tennessee Titans facility. And I just have to say one thing. If the Titans are eating these, they're hopeless. These are awful. Just awful. And I know it says mom approved on the label. This dad disapproves of this thing. So
what does it taste like?
Not good. That's how I would describe the taste. Not good.
Now, do you eat the regular kind?
All the time.
Really?
Yeah.
So I've never had one.
When you have a 4.5-year-old son,
those are go-to.
I eat my body weight in Uncrustables.
Oh, wow.
So I am an Uncrustable connoisseur. These are no Uncrustables.
How long does it stay fresh in the package?
I don't think you need to worry about that.
Yeah.
Again, as someone...
keep frozen. Thaw and eat. Okay.
Well, it was frozen.
It was?
It's been thawed.
Okay.
Because it's been sitting out here.
So what is the for those like me who are not in the Uncrustable world, like the Denison Big Red baseball team, it's a go-to snack in the dugout.
Mm-hmm.
Like the guys talk about setting the record for most Uncrustables consumed during a doubleheader.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a pretty high number. It's like 5 or 6 during the course of the day.
So,
but what is appetizing about the Uncrustable? What is falling short?
I don't know.
In the seed oil less.
It's probably not as sweet. I don't know.
As a connoisseur,
it's a little bland.
It's bland.
It's a little bland.
What's in the Uncrustable? Is it like a PB&J?
It's Smuckers. Yeah. It's Smuckers, peanut butter, and jelly.
Yeah, that's all it is.
So it's always PB&J.
Well, there are, I believe there's a Nutella-esque version. There's honey and peanut butter. There's strawberry jam and raspberry jam and grape jelly. You've got so many choices.
But peanut butter is a staple in there.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, peanut butter is a staple in there. According to The Athletic, the Denver Broncos consume 700 Uncrustables per week. 700.
Oh, that's a lot of Uncrustables.
The Titans consume 100 Uncrustables per week, according to the story from The Athletic written in November of 2024. So a couple of seasons
Is there
ago.
like a famous offensive lineman that has the record for most in a week?
I'm sure if you give me a moment, I can find it.
So they're keeping stats on Uncrustables. These are the big.
I guess you have to.
You need to try one. I'm going to bring you one tomorrow.
All right.
This would be healthier for you.
I am in the minority. You know what happened to me as a kid? I had too many peanut butter and jellies, and my body just like hit the saturation point, and I was like, I can't. I got to stop, and I never really went back to it.
So you can actually fall out of love with peanut butter and jelly
because like every day at lunch, it was just too much. Well,
too much love.
Too much love. It was the go-to. Like my mom and dad, was like that's the go-to. And after a while, I was just like, I can't do it anymore. I can't have the same thing every day. And so my body, my brain was like, go in a different direction, go away from it, and I've never come back.
So what did you went totally to cold cuts? Like the other
side?
I
went to like when you get a little older, you get the hot lunch.
Yeah,
you pay the 50 cents or whatever they.
Okay.
What does a lunch cost today? Like,
what
do you pay for lunch?
Like? At school?
We used to always have the school lunch.
You pull out
the
50
cents or the 60 cent, whatever it was.
Well, we had a little card thing, and they just
we never had the card. We had to do the cash every day back then.
In this story written a couple of years ago on The Athletic, George Kittle eats 2 Uncrustables on flights to road games and anywhere from 2 to 4 on flights home. Each week, the NFL consumes nearly the weight of 3 Travis Kelce's in Uncrustables. That's 700 pounds.
So how do you think, like Robert Saleh is selling the no seed oil thing. Do you think these are flying in the Titans?
If it were up to me, I wouldn't enjoy it.
Do you think there'll be a revolt and say, hey, the exception has got to be the Uncrustables?
Guys are going to eat them. Guys are going to
Derek,
eat them.
Even the ones without the seed?
I want you to open that up and take a bite live on air.
No, I'm not doing that.
He refused to do it.
I refused to do it.
I had them.
Yeah.
They're not bad. They're not good, but they're not bad.
All right. This person on our text line, hot take. Peanut butter is great. and jelly is great. Together they suck.
What?
That is a blasphemous take. It's not just hot.
Oh, wow.
You should be excommunicated from the text line for a take like that.
You were the third person banned from this program. Congratulations.
Hand over your coin. You're done.
Peanut butter is great and jelly is great. Together they suck.
Oh, wow. What type of childhood did that person have? How were they brought up?
It's all about my son eats a regular peanut butter and jelly. We have Uncrustables at home, but I make him a peanut butter and jelly sandwich every day for lunch. And the key is the peanut butter pocket. You've got to put peanut butter on both sides of the bread, and then you put the jelly in the middle.
Huh?
It's the peanut butter pocket.
No, I've never heard of that one, brother. Never, ever. That must be a Northeastern thing.
I mean, I think it's a normal functioning human thing.
It's just peanut butter on one, jelly on the other.
No, you put peanut butter on both sides. You put jelly in the middle.
That's too much peanut butter.
Well, something's wrong with you, Derek. Mason.
There is a concentration of peanut butter that you should have. It should never oversaturate the jelly.
Well, here's what
I think the ratio of peanut butter to jelly is a very important question.
It's absolutely
very important.
Absolutely.
I like to shade a little bit to the jelly side. To me,
see,
one texter,
jelly person.
Paul says Titans players are probably sneaking in snacks like the kids in heavyweights during camp.
That has seed oil in it.
Yes, I will
Don't
bring
let Coach see.
I will bring Willy Donick an Uncrustable tomorrow, so he can enjoy it live on air for the first time ever.
Live taste test. Okay.
B-Man says, I'm 47 and I still eat PB&Js. I mean, I'm 37 and I still eat PB&Js. So all I'm saying. Okay, by the way, the texter who had the blasphemous take says, excommunicated? It's the texture. It's a texture thing for me when they're added together. Also, I hate hot dogs because of texture. Well, you can't compare hot dogs to peanut butter and jelly.
Man,
that didn't really work there. I don't know if that's what she said, Worthy.
But he is saying that I don't understand how you can love peanut butter and love jelly, but then the two together is just like no.
Sonny says a friend of mine has the tool to make homemade Uncrustables, and they made a ham and cheese version. It was incredible. Jeff says Uncrustables are okay, but I'm surprised pro athletes eat so many since they are ultra processed. Well, they work out so much, they expend so much energy and burn so many calories. It's in and out.
Somebody on our YouTube chat line brought in the Fluffernutter.
Huh?
That's peanut butter and marshmallow. If memory
marshmallow
serves.
fluff and peanut butter.
Yes,
says that is the better choice.
We have a lot of thoughts on sandwiches.
It's a tight streamline, but I know some people that really commit to the Fluffernutters.
Here's all I'm saying: if that is what Robert Saleh is feeding the Titans, their host.
They're going to be rejected. You're saying
their host. I mean, those are nasty.
What you saying? They're going to win another 3 games?
You heard it here.
Absolutely.
June 23rd.
Adam said
another 3-win season.
Their host
because of the Fluffernutters.
The jams,
the Uncrustables without the seed oil.
Andrew says, "Crap! I'm late to the start. Did I miss the word of the day? You did not miss the word of the day.
Wow.
The word of the day is quail." But not like the bird.
What?
The verb quail, which is to feel afraid and often to show your fear in a way that can be clearly seen.
I thought you were about to say, damn.
Wow.
Quail.
I would have got that wrong on a vocab test.
To feel afraid and often to show your fear in a way that can be clearly seen, such as I quailed at the sight of seed oilless Uncrustables.
Okay.
I think that works.
Okay. I learned something today.
We all did.
We're off to a great start. I might learn something else by 6 o'clock.
One texter says, just catching this on a run to the bank. I think I'm going to make a PB&J when I get back to the office.
Okay, here's the question. Here is the essential question. I do not like the middle bread. I hate it.
The middle bread?
Yeah.
Like on a club sandwich?
Ends. I like the two. I'm just talking about sliced bread.
Oh, okay.
I like the ends. I like the 2 in the front and the 2 in the back. I can't eat the one, especially not with a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
You waste so much bread then?
I mean, it gets eaten, but when you're talking about a PB&J sandwich, I will never, and I repeat, I will never not use the first two or the last two. I'll wait for people to eat the bread before I eat the last two.
You know why? Because I've learned so much today. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I'm sort of the opposite. I don't really love the end pieces.
You don't?
No.
The end pieces, they're more fulfilling.
I think you're in the minority on that one.
I think I am too.
I know some people that just bypass that. They'll just throw the loaf out.
See, why would you?
They won't use either one of those, the front or the back.
Seriously?
Yeah, they'll just toss it.
Wasting bread. That is a waste.
I know. I've seen it happen. It's sad.
Derek has a lot of opinions on sandwiches and bread.
There's nothing like the first two because they're the thickest pieces of the bread. And then the last two. So there's nothing wrong with that.
I did not mean to start the show this way, but I had to take a bite because, look, if you are a radio host and there is food in front of you and you did not pay for it, you're probably going to eat it. So when I saw it, I said, I'm going to try this. And I took a bite before I read the packaging and realized it was seed oil free. And man, oh man.
You paid for it.
If there are any members of the Tennessee Titans listening, I can be your Uncrustables pusher, okay? I will make the runs to the grocery store. Okay. I'll go to BJ's. I'll go to Costco. I'll get you the 70-pack. I want you guys to be at the top of your game. And you're not going to be at the top of your game if you're eating that.
We're going to have to work on our program of how you get it to the people, get it to the inside. Because they got security cameras over there.
Can you
they
toast
got a lot
this?
of stuff.
Can I put this in the oven? And
no, they recommend you don't.
Oh, okay.
But can you imagine me standing outside the Titans headquarters in a trench coat and Jeffrey Simmons walks out. Psst, Jeffrey, come here. And I just open up one part of my trench coat. By the way, I am fully clothed under the trench coat. I pull.
That's what she said.
That works better. That works better. I pull one. I pull one part of it open, and there's
why would anybody not be clothed?
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. Like, why would anybody not?
You two are not that naive. But I open up one part of my trench coat, and I've got peanut butter and jelly. I've got strawberry jelly, grape jelly, raspberry jelly, Nutella, honey, you name it. Don't let Bob. Don't let Bob see it. Okay.
What's on the other side? Are you selling
the fluffernutters?
Yeah, the fluffernutters.
We'll talk about that during the break.
Fluffernutters?
I need some fluffernutters.
Need some fluffernutters, man.
Like in The Wire, they have the code of all the what's the name of all the things?
Yes. Chris says Derek probably hates muffin tops too. Muffin tops.
No, I don't.
The tops of muffins.
No, I love the top of muffins because it's the thickest part of the bread. Now, when you talk about a muffin top, I don't like a muffin top, man. Around the waist, over your.
Now, Derek,
over your waistline. That's a different kind of
body shaming the listeners.
I'm not. I'm just saying I dislike it.
Breaking news.
Each his own.
Derek Mason body shames. Derek Mason body shames the 102.5 The Game listening area.
Muffin lovers.
Muffins are so good.
Muffins are good.
Man. All right. So tomorrow, live on air, Willy Donick will take his first ever bite of an. Okay. All
right. You may be hooked, Willy.
Okay. We might be hooked. I might have a rediscovery of the PB&J sensation.
Yes. It's good stuff. It's perfect for. I haven't eaten all day because my kids are driving me nuts. So let me just reach into the freezer and grab one. And they are quite good. So Titans players out there, I feel for you. Not having seed oils, it's the worst. Now, here's the question. Do you think any of them sneak seed oils at home? Or are they on a strict no seed oils at work or at home?
Some people may. But then I'm sure the younger guys are listen, man. Especially if you don't have a family.
When I was on Weight Watchers, because I was on Weight Watchers when I was in high school, I used to sneak Taco Bell on my way home from school.
So you defeated the purpose, huh?
I mean, I ended up losing weight. It just took me a little bit longer.
Oh, you took the long path.
But on my way home from school, I would go to Taco Bell.
I don't blame you.
Get Taco a double-decker taco, crush that sucker, and throw away the garbage before I got home. My mom was never the wiser.
She knows now.
Well, it's fine. I've gained most of it back. 615-737-1025. All right. I did not intend for the show to start this way, but it's June, so we're going to go with it. 615-737.
There wasn't any Hall of Fame inductees today.
No.
Or breaking news about Jeffrey Simmons' contract.
No.
Like the last couple of shows have had huge news right at the start.
Precisely. But there was huge news earlier today in the NFL, and we will discuss that coming up next. We'll also take your thoughts on peanut butter and jelly. 615-737-1025. Today, the Nashville Sounds take on the Gwinnett Stripers at First Horizon Park. First pitch is at 6:35. Catch all of the action on 94.9 The Fan, presented by Twin Peaks, Family Leisure, Maple Street Biscuit Company, Mad Fireworks, and Social Cantina.
All right, let's tell you about one of the new sponsors on our station, Twice Daily, and their Daily Rewards program. Now, in Twice Daily, they got all these choices. We've been talking about food, the first segment here, all of the little snacks that you can get, so many great ones to choose from. And when you have the Daily Rewards program, you unlock special discounts, savings, you enter into sweepstakes, and a whole lot more. A lot of benefits when you go to Twice Daily and you sign up for their rewards program. So it pays to be a member with Twice Daily. You're going to earn those points and save money with every visit. So if you're looking for convenience, Twice Daily has you covered. So go on in there. Pizza every day available to you. So if you're driving around, what am I going to do for dinner tonight? That's one. You can actually get it delivered to your home. You can pick it up in the store, order ahead. That option is there for you. It's Twice Daily, fresh all day.
DMase, Vingan and Donick, 1025. The Game, Willy Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. All right. I did not mean for us to spend the entire first segment talking about peanut butter and jelly, but it happens. One texter says, I went to make a peanut butter and jelly about an hour ago and realized I was out of jelly, so I had to use honey. Need to hear your thoughts on this combo. Peanut butter and honey. It's a great combination. Underrated.
Thumbs up.
Nothing
Underrated.
wrong with it at all.
I like to dip my apples in peanut butter and honey. It's a good combination. We approve. It is DVD PBJ approved. Well, it's not PBJ because it's honey, but you know what I mean. So anyway, let's get to sports, shall we? Some major news in the world of the NFL earlier today. Reading directly from Pete Thamel and Adam Schefter of ESPN, quote, quarterback Brendan Sorsby will not play in the NFL in 2026 as the league has elected not to hold a supplemental draft. The NFL's decision came down to its right to decide whether to hold a supplemental draft per the collective bargaining agreement, as league officials said they believed it would ultimately become a distraction to teams as they begin training camps. The league told Sorsby in a letter obtained by ESPN, quote, your petition filed 3 business days before the deadline without any supporting information or documentation, and only after abandoning your recent litigation efforts to avoid NCAA sanctions, does not provide a basis for the league to alter those plans. So, Brendan Sorsby, he's not playing college football. Brendan Sorsby, he's not playing in the NFL this season. So, what?
I am curious about one thing, DMase, and that is why not allow him to be picked and then suspend him? It sounds like they're just like, well, this is convenient. We just don't have to let him into the league. But why are you keeping somebody? Nobody has to draft him. If a team wants to draft him, they can, knowing that there's penalties coming. I don't understand why they're not even letting him go into the process.
That would be a good question to ask. Because if you seem to have, only reason you're not having it is because of this, then, why? Outside of, them, I explain it like this. It's basically when you go to one child goes to the parent, whichever parent it is, and that parent says no. And then you go to the other parent, and the other parent says, do you know the rules? Do you think I was going to say yeah now? No is no. So you can't go, or we're not going. It's the same situation here where the NFL is, listen, one, we don't want to put our team, our league, the Shield in any compromising position like that. No, it's not like he made one bet or bet here, or he didn't bet on this. He made hundreds of bets for tens of thousands of dollars. And he has a problem. That is more than anything that he has admitted he's addicted to gambling. And you expect us to open up this supplementary draft for you to allow you to come, basically come into our league, not knowing if you have gotten over that addiction or not. We don't want to have to deal with it. So you're not going to leave one place because you didn't agree, or they were putting down a hammer and said, no, we're not letting him play, and expect to come to our league, which there has been precedent set for guys that gamble, in particular on their team. They get suspended for a year or indefinitely. So don't think you can come here and somebody can draft you and you could benefit from it. Even if we suspend you, you still got a contract.
Okay, so how does he eventually get into the league? That's my question.
How is he spending this season?
I think he has to spend it working on himself. See, that whole 30-day thing, or it was I'm not going to say it wasn't beneficial for Sorsby going to therapy. It was beneficial, but the league look at it as that wasn't enough. Like, you can't expect us to think after 30 days everything's cool. Now, Texas Tech, because they invested in you, and the rules are sort of, ambiguous at best. They were going to allow you to play, but we're not. So I don't know. Honestly, I don't know how he gets into the NFL. I really don't, because this may be one of these Pete Rose moments where the NFL just says, you know what? It wasn't one bet here or wasn't one bet there. It was tens of thousands of dollars worth of bets. And then you tried to manipulate the system and have other people bet for you. So we're not going to participate. Our league gets flacked as much as any league around there. So for us to invite that, knowing that you have a problem, how much more flack you think we're going to get?
I want to bring this up from Albert Breer of Sports Illustrated because I found this comment interesting. He said, quote, "I can't remember the NFL ever denying a player entry to the supplemental draft. They've let guys in who were ruled ineligible because of drugs, Josh Gordon, NCAA rule breaking, Terrell Pryor, and grades, Ahmad Brooks, over and over. Clearly, the NFL is drawing a line here." That's from Albert Breer.
I agree with Breer. And I would go the step further. Like I, as much as this is a serious thing and you want to set the tone for everybody that you cannot gamble, I get that. But there has to be some pathway for him if he can get his life together. And the time is not now. Like my thought would be there's probably a big chunk of teams in the league that will have no interest in bringing him onto their team because of the risk. We know if he's got an addiction, it's not out of the realm at all that he'll have some relapses and he could short circuit his career, and it's not worth the investment. But if a team wants to draft him, the league can set what they think is a fair penalty, a stepping stone process to get back eligible to play, and you go from there. I don't understand why he's blocked from the league. He's never played in the league. If somebody wants to bring him in, okay, here's what he did. Here's the penalty.
But it's just like anything. If you are hesitant to bring someone into your circle that has displayed sort of the things that you are opposed to, and we all know, like, listen, getting arrested for speeding or drugs, smoking marijuana or grades, that pales in comparison to this. That's mediocre. That stuff is mediocre. The NFL, the NBA, the MLB, all these sports, hockey, they're going to continue to let guys in like that.
Right.
But the one thing these
aren't a bunch of saints. No,
absolutely.
Not New Orleans saints.
Absolutely. But the one thing that the NFL has put their foot down on is gambling. So to me, it's like, do I want the young man to, sort of resurrect himself and become a better? Absolutely. And will he ultimately get a day that he could play in the NFL? Possibly.
So is it a year? Like if you're in charge of that and you make this ruling, if you're the commissioner, do you say, come back to me in a year?
Like I say it's indefinite. Just we will continue
Can he
to
petition to get back in? Like, here's what I've done. Here's the programs that I've gone. I'm clean. I haven't made a bet.
Yeah, you can. I would allow, like, if your representatives wants to show what you've been doing, because that's not my main objective and problem is to get you in the NFL. That's not, you made your bed, you may have to lay in it for a while. But if your representatives brings to me, if I'm the commissioner and we start to see steps, then okay, now I have something to sit down and really think about. But outside of that, it's a privilege to play in this league. It's a privilege.
Here is an important note from The Athletic. According to the NFL's collective bargaining agreement, players don't become undrafted free agents until the completion of the draft for which they are eligible. So Sorsby cannot simply sign with an NFL team. So the NFL is not an option for Brendan Sorsby in 2026.
Yeah.
In 2026.
Correct.
So presumably it opens back up for discussion after next year's draft.
He is now
the 2027 draft.
He's a part of the 2027 draft.
Right. He will be part of the class of 2027.
Yeah.
But I want to know what he's going to do, and I can't recall. Maybe you guys can. Are there examples of players who have missed an entire year of playing who ended up being drafted? I'm sure, but I can't. Can you think of...
with injury, I'm sure, but you mean for suspension or something like that.
Right.
I'm not sure.
Are there any notable examples that come off the top of your heads? I don't know. Would this be unprecedented? If he doesn't, he's not going to be able to play. I mean, I don't know what it means for other leagues, but
it would be different if he was already in the NFL and people saw the talent. And it may seem, bad or whatever, but this is how, if your talent outweighs your problems, then either you're going to get another chance or they're going to be very, very long about giving you one or sort of, the times you mess up, you can mess up over and over again until, your talent sort of diminish. But he will have to sit out for a year. And had he already been in the NFL, show what he can do, I think there probably would have been more of a chance for him to get back into the league. Granted, if he didn't bet on his own team, if he just made bets in general. But this guy is not in the NFL. So now what you're asking me is, okay, draft this guy based on his potential and based on him staying clean as far as no betting. I think I'm going to pass on that until I see that he can consistently do what he said he was going to do.
Caleb on our text line says, it's like having something bad come up on a resume or background check for a job interview. The employer has the right to make that decision. No?
Yeah.
Certainly. By the way, some other breaking NFL news. Kyle Pitts and the Atlanta Falcons have reached agreement today on a 3-year, $54 million contract that includes $36 million fully guaranteed. Here's what I love about how agents frame contracts. Quote, it is the largest 3-year contract for a tight end in NFL history. Great. But now Kyle Pitts is the third highest paid tight end per year in the NFL, behind George Kittle and Trey McBride. Kyle Pitts coming in at $18 million per season. So that just across the wire. But I will be interested to see how Brendan Sorsby keeps his name out there, because it's a figurative death sentence if he just goes away and nobody hears from him and there isn't film out there for teams to study. I mean, he can hold a pro day, I guess, at some point, but you're not playing high-level college football for a year. What are you doing? And will a team take a chance? Because if you read the scouting reports from people who watch Sorsby regularly, they seem to be pretty high on him as a talent, but
and at a position that's so hard to find.
Yeah.
I don't think they're necessarily worried about, his ability to play the game at this level. I think there are people that have scouted him and believe he can play or possibly even be a starter and a high-level starter in this league. So it's not about continue to work out with his trainer each and every day, throwing footballs to, various people, whether it be college kids that come in there before the season or, older veteran guys that are still looking for an opportunity in the league. So he's always going to have, either people to throw to or places to work out. They want to know if, he's gotten himself straight with the gambling. If it was just based on his ability to play the game, I think people would draft him. Even if it was a supplemental draft, he probably got drafted high. But when you insert that other element, which is sort of like the, this is the one thing we do not tolerate in a sense, then that's something that you have to see over time. They believe in the talent, I believe. I think so. It's just the other gambling. They want to see if this kid has really gotten over his problems or not. I think that's one of the main reasons why they were like, no, we're going to shut this down, because he has to spend time working on himself.
Gunner says, didn't Mike Williams, the wide receiver from USC, and Maurice Clarett have something happen and they missed a year of college, non-injury related, then got drafted?
Well, Clarett was dealing with a lot of this. He was trying to leave early. One of them sold some jerseys. I think that may have been prior that sold the jerseys. I think Mike Williams was the jerseys too. I don't know if he got suspended for the whole year, but he had something to do with jerseys as well. I don't think any one of those had anything to do with gambling. I could be wrong on that one.
Quickly, Craig, non sequitur, says, DMase, I know it's not Ask DMase, but I'm having an argument with a guy at work from St. Louis. If Blaine Bishop doesn't get hurt in the Super Bowl, do the Titans win?
I blame Blaine all the time. That had you not went in there and been as aggressive as you are and hurt yourself, we would have had you in the back, and there's no way that they would have gotten that ball completed if you were back there. And then I blame Javon too, because you're so good that you altered the pass from the quarterback, which made it a underthrown pass, and that's how the reception and then touchdown was able to happen. So,
Craig, I hope that helps you win your argument. 615-737-1025. Speaking of arguments, yesterday we talked about Pecorine being elected to the Hockey Hall of Fame, and it seems like it's a rather, I don't know if controversial is the right word, but people are split on Pecorine entering the Hockey Hall of Fame, including, in my opinion, the preeminent Hockey Hall of Fame analyst. We'll discuss that coming up next. 615-737-1025. Speaking of the Predators, 1025 The Game will have live coverage of the NHL Draft starting Friday at 6 p.m. with our very own Willy Donick, Max High Maintenance Hers, and other Preds broadcasters. We will take you through the end of the first round as the Predators currently have the 10th overall pick. NHL Draft coverage here on 1025 The Game is presented by Tennessee Brewworks and the UPS store in Green Hills. DMase, Vingan, and Donick, 1025 The Game. Willy Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. Yesterday, right as we came on the air, we learned that Pecorine will be inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame later this year. We are all thrilled, of course, for Pecorine. One of one as a human being and now a member of the Hockey Hall of Fame. And after the show, I was looking at a lot of the reaction. And not from people here, of course. People here are thrilled for Pecorine, but I was looking more at the national reaction to the class of 2026. And I would say people were fairly split on Pecorine's candidacy for the Hockey Hall of Fame. And that includes who I would consider to be the preeminent Hockey Hall of Fame analyst. His name is Paul Paduti. Don't snicker. I believe that's his last name. Paul Paduti. If it's Paul Paduti, I'm really sorry, Paul, but I believe it's Paul Paduti. And Paul is a longtime Hall of Fame enthusiast. He also created a metric to determine a player's worthiness for being inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame. And his metric does not reflect kindly on Pecorine. Not to say that these numbers say that Pecorine had a bad career. He certainly didn't. But the metrics question whether Rene is worthy of being a Hockey Hall of Famer. I'm going to read from Paduti's story on dailyfaceoff.com. Quote, with the subhead, Pecorine's selection is puzzling. Quote, Rene was a good goaltender for most of 11 seasons, securing a Vezina trophy at age 36 and retiring an icon in Nashville. He was a 4-time Vezina finalist, an exclusive feat, albeit one voted on by the league's GMs that vote for workload and wins. You'll hear that Rene is 14th all-time in save percentage, but that's more of a function of when he played, not how. Tuukka Rask is 4th, Ben Bishop is 5th, Corey Schneider is 10th. Yes, really. Paduti continues. If we filter to 200-plus games since 2007, Rene is 75th out of 90 goalies and goals saved above expected per hockeystats.com. That's 22 goals below expected. Of those 90 goalies, only late career Martin Brodeur had an easier workload than the Preds' defense-first system. It's notable that David Poile, who has served on the selection committee for 12 years, was Rene's GM spanning his entire career. So Paduti's not the only one who said these things. Like, Pecorine, really? Third year of eligibility, Hockey Hall of Famer? I'll admit, I was surprised yesterday. Not because I don't think Rene has a good case. I thought it would be longer until he made it in. I wasn't expecting him to make it in after 3 tries.
I wasn't surprised, but I admit, my perspective of the history of the NHL isn't the same as my perspective on the history of, say, baseball. I think what I'm hearing from the argument there by Paduti is that, and I understand this, like if you played in the steroid era of baseball and you had 5 straight seasons of hitting 40 home runs, that's different than having that same run of 5 straight years of 40 home runs in a pitcher's era, right? How you did relative to the league is important. And I make this argument with DMase all the time. And there are plenty of wide receivers from the 70s where the passing game was completely different. We talked about the quarterback completion percentage and all that stuff. You look at Lynn Swann or Cliff Branch's numbers, they don't jump out at you like the modern guys that catch 100 balls a season. So that is very important for sure. But in terms of value to a team and in terms of meaningful role for a franchise, I think that goes beyond the numbers that he's pointing out there. I respect the numbers, no question. But, if Pecorine was one of the best goalies in the game for a long time. And by the way, workload and wins are important.
Mm-hmm. Here's one of the arguments Paduti makes. one of his key metrics is your peak.
Right.
Were you considered the best goalie in your era for any length of time? And Paduti argues that Rinne wasn't the best goalie of his era for any significant length of time. Now, who would those goalies be? Off the top of my head, you fill in the blanks, Willie. Henrik Lundqvist, Carey Price, who also went in yesterday. I would say Jonathan Quick, Tuukka Rask, Marc-Andre Fleury, maybe.
For sure.
Roberto Luongo. Like, those are some of the goalies.
Andre Vasilevsky towards the beginning of his career, I would say.
Yeah, so those are the goalies who come to mind as Rinne's contemporaries.
Connor Hellebuck, probably. Early Connor Hellebuck.
Yeah. But to me, I'm thinking more of the Lundqvist, Price, Quick, Luongo, Rask group, more so. And look, Rinne won the Vezina Trophy in the 2017-18 season, had some fabulous statistical seasons. But if you were to tell me Rinne was never the best goalie of his era for maybe more than a season, I could listen to that argument. And I think that's
the best doesn't mean, like, if the other guys you're mentioning are all Hall of Fame worthy, which most of those guys you listed,
well, Price went in yesterday.
Marc-Andre Fleury
Lundqvist
will be in.
Right. Lundqvist is a Hall of Famer, correct? Luongo is also a Hall of Famer, I believe.
Oh, for sure.
But I think that shouldn't even be the question, because in every sport does it. You know, when you're talking about the Hall of Fame, was he the best at his position during any length of time? Well, when you have guys that are also playing great, there can only be one guy that's the best, regardless. And it may differ when you're talking with different people, depending on, you know, what that system was, how that team was playing, who was in front of that person. But were they always considered a top tier player? And if Rinne was always considered, whether it be for a 3-4 year span, and I'm just talking about when he was finalist for Vezina, if he was considered one of the best goalies during that period, then why wouldn't he be a Hall of Famer? It makes it more difficult when you're trying to compare him to his contemporaries. It's not like they're playing against one another.
I mean, I would consider Rinne's peak 2014 through 2018, right?
I disagree. I disagree. It was way before that. When he came on, he was almost the rookie of the year when he came in, 08-09. And then, 930 save percentage, 2010, 2011.
That's fair.
But then he dipped some years.
I would say he didn't get into the league until he was 26. I would say from age 26 until the time he won the Vezina in 2018, that was a pretty consistent run. In a couple of years that weren't quite as great as others, but I would say he was definitely he's a Hall of Famer because of what he did during that era, I would say.
I think people sometimes look at consistency and they get bored with it, and they sort of lose sight of that person that has been playing consistently, especially if you don't have a championship on top of it. Rinne is a classic example of one of those guys that was consistently playing at a high level, but there were also other guys around him that were playing at a high level, and some of those guys end up winning Stanley Cups, and he wasn't able to do that. And I think of a guy like Brad Hopkins. When he was playing, he was definitely a top 3 or 4 tackle, but there were so many tackles, to me, he's Hall of Fame worthy, but there were so many tackles out there in his day and age. And some of those guys are now in the College Hall of Fame, but it shouldn't diminish how you played as a player.
A couple of textures here. One says, if you finished as a finalist 4 times for the Vezina and you won 1, you were absolutely one of the top goaltenders for at least 4 years. Joey from Gallatin says, I don't care what that dude says. Rinne is a Vezina winning goalie. I can't take anyone seriously who has a name that sounds like a child's insult. One Paduti. One texter says, F him. He's in. That's all that matters. He's in. That's all that matters. Andrew says, this dude is clearly a Blackhawks fan. I mean, look, you're not going to find anyone here arguing about Pekka Rinne being a hockey Hall of Famer.
But these kinds of debates go on
in
all the sports, all the Hall of Fame.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I don't mind having the debate. I wonder how this guy has these retroactive goals saved. But when did they start keeping that? I have to imagine they started keeping that stat before Rene or after Rene got into the league, right?
I guess it depends on
I don't know when
the website.
How can he go back and find some of that? I never heard of that stat until about five years ago. That was towards the end of Pekka's career. Were people keeping goal save above expected in 2010 or 2011 when he came into the league?
If they were,
I have to believe in watching those games with the eye test, he was the reason. He, Ryan Suter, and Shea Weber, the three of those guys, were the backbone of that entire team. The rest of that roster was fairly, decent at best. They won playoff series and were a relevant team because of the three superstars that they had.
I will push back quickly
in my opinion.
I will push back quickly on one texter who says Rene was an awful postseason goalie. Pekka Rene in his playoff career had a 2.49 goals against average and 9.14 save percentage. Like he had some rough games. Don't get me wrong. Game 7 against Winnipeg in 2018, the beginning of the beginning of the Stanley Cup final, all of the games in Pittsburgh, basically in the Stanley Cup final, if memory serves. But to say he was an awful postseason goalie throughout his career, factually inaccurate. 615-737.
Did a 930 in the run in 2017. The 3 games in Pittsburgh are, those were not good. But the 3 games in Nashville, he was brilliant.
615-737-1025. Coming up next, friend of the show, Nick Suss of the Tennessean, wrote a story making some outside-the-box off-season recommendations for the Tennessee Titans. There was one in particular I found very interesting, and I am specifically interested in what Derek Mason has to say about it, what he thinks about it. We'll get to that next. 615-737-1025. Willy Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game. DMase, Vingan, and Donick, 1025 The Game. Willy Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, and Connor Newt here with you. Trevor Matich will join us in about 15, 20 minutes for our weekly chat with one of our favorite football analysts. And we're going to start this hour on the local professional football team. Friend of the show, Nick Suss, wrote a story that published this morning with the headline, "What should the Titans do next? 5 outside-the-box off-season recommendations." All of them were very interesting. But there is one at the bottom that I found particularly interesting. And I am just going to read from Suss's story. I am really interested to hear what Derek Mason has to think about this. So one of the outside-the-box off-season recommendations, as suggested by Nick Suss of the Tennessean, quote, "Do the A.J. Brown, Julio Jones thing again, but do it right." Quote, "There are only so many mouths that can be fed in the Titans receiver room. Bringing in a veteran like Tyreek Hill or Keenan Allen only makes sense if the Titans also try to trade receiver Calvin Ridley away, because no one of that caliber would be willing to come in to be a number 4 option. But Titans offensive coordinator Brian Daboll's history with free agent receiver Stefon Diggs is tantalizing, as are first-round pick Carnell Tate's similarities to Diggs. This could be another swing at the move the Titans pulled in 2021 by pairing an ascendant young receiver with a proven star he looks up to. In this scenario, trade Ridley to Washington, where he can reunite with former Titans teammates Van Jefferson, Treylon Burks, and Chigakonkwo, in exchange for a day 3 draft pick, and roll the dice on Diggs being a natural fit in a Daboll offense he's familiar with. Pair Diggs and Tate with Wan'Dale Robinson and use the draft pick as a piece to be flexible with next spring. So Nick Suss suggesting dump Calvin Ridley, bring in Stefon Diggs. Derek Mason, your thoughts?
This would be the wide receiver translator.
Yeah, it would be. I don't listen. There's nothing. Diggs 2-3 years ago, yes. Even Diggs 2 years ago, yes. But I think what Nick is missing here is the rapport that Cam has already built with Calvin Ridley. He was sort of the go-to guy. He was the guy before Calvin got injured. He was the guy Calvin. He was looking for Calvin just about every time. Now, when he got hurt, it was something different. He had to get reacclimated once he got back. But Calvin fits better in the role that he's in. I'm not sure a Stefon Diggs fits in the role that they would want him to play here, because ultimately you are playing second fiddle to Carnell Tate, and at times you're going to play it to Wan'Dale Robinson because of Wan'Dale knowing the offense and Cam looking for him, because a lot of times that's the easiest throw to the shortest throw is the easiest throw at times. So bringing in a Stefon Diggs, I just think that will set him back, because not only now he has to get used to 3 new receivers. All 3 of his starters would be guys that he is not used to throwing the football to. And what do you want your second-year quarterback to be? Comfortable in an offense and throwing to guys that he's gotten used to throwing to. He's gotten used to throwing to Calvin Ridley. He's going to get used to throwing to Carnell Tate as well as Wan'Dale Robinson. But you can't have his whole starting unit be new faces out there. They've tried that before, and it didn't work.
Now, Calvin Ridley, Willy, and Stefon Diggs are roughly the same age. They're in their early 30s. I believe Ridley is 31, Diggs is 32. We know Ridley is coming off of a major injury. Diggs had a productive season last year in New England. 85 receptions, 1,013 receiving yards, and 4 touchdowns. So if you're just looking at what did you do last season, the answer simply should be, yeah, Stefon Diggs over Calvin Ridley. But I do hear Derek's point that Cam Ward had started developing a rapport with Calvin Ridley, and he would have to start from scratch with yet another receiver on top of Carnell Tate and Wan'Dale Robinson. I get that point from Derek. I hadn't thought about that. That's why he's the wide receiver. But what do you think, Willy?
It's a intriguing one. Diggs has always been that fiery guy that believes he's the best. This is your greatest strength, maybe your greatest weakness, especially when you get to this stage of your career and you're not quite what you were 5 years ago. I still wonder what he would be like as a guy saying, hey, we got this Carnell Tate. We're really happy about him. We got Wan'Dale Robinson. And Stefon, we want you to come in here and just be that complimentary third, fourth guy. We got these young guys we're building around. You'd be a great – I don't know if he's like that. Like, I always remember Jerry Rice when he was like 58 years old still saying, I'm the number one guy. I still can go out there and play. Like, even when he was
in
Seattle, like looking for a team to play for, like, I'm still the man. Like, that belief is valuable. But could Diggs be that guy? I don't know. Not that Ridley's not Ridley's a flawed player for sure. It's crazy to think that they're a year apart in age because it just seems like Diggs has been around a lot longer because he arrived earlier.
Yes, Calvin Ridley is 31. He'll be 32 in December, and Diggs is 32. He'll be 33 in November.
Yeah, so again, it's not so much for me the age. It's about making the quarterback comfortable in his settings, in his surroundings. Again, he's built a rapport with Calvin Ridley. He's built it with Ellick and DK. Now he's trying to build it with Wan'Dale and Carnell Tate, and to add someone else in there. And listen, I'm sure that bringing Diggs in, it wouldn't alter the locker room in any way, I believe. But I do believe in this also, and Willie mentioned it. He's basically been the number one guy for a very long time. And when he felt he started segueing out of that number one, he wanted a trade.
Right.
He did it in Minnesota. He's done it in other places where he's like
Buffalo.
Yeah, I got to go. And there's nothing wrong with it because he's been productive.
He made a pit stop in Houston, but got hurt.
Exactly.
If memory serves.
Absolutely. So it's not like, he's not. He is productive, but I know guys of that ilk. It's like Willie just said. I don't care if I'm 40 years old. If I'm still out there, I still believe I'm the best guy. And sometimes that may not. When you're not getting targeted, it may alter, during the season. You may end up trading them in the middle of the season because it's altering what you want as a locker room, or it's altering, the quarterback in his read process because he's trying to get it to this veteran guy because he respects him so much. So he's trying to get it to him where he may be going a little bit outside of the offense.
I also think that Diggs is used to playing on contending teams. He's played on a lot of winning teams. Mm-hmm. I don't know that he's a guy that's just going to come in and say, yeah, I can really help these young receivers and this young quarterback. I think if I'm him, I'm looking to go somewhere where I can
win
one last kick at the can for the Super Bowl. I still look at the Titans roster as not a Diggs away from winning. I'm still in the developmental stage. And I don't know how Ridley why do I keep saying Ridley? Calvin Ridley is going to take to whatever role he's got because his role is going to change. Going into last year, it was like, okay, here's the guy they spent all the money on. He's clearly supposed to be the number one guy. And so you go from there. And now he's a big, big question mark. He's trying to resurrect his career. He's trying to prove he still belongs in the league. That's a different thing than where Diggs is.
I think he will be more inclined to accept the role for this reason. He took a pay cut to stay there. So
because it was that or hit the street and try to find a new place.
He knew that the best thing for him in his career was to stay where they enjoy him being here. He's a good teammate. He's been the mentor to these younger receivers, and he's built a rapport with the quarterback. And frankly, he probably wasn't going to get that with the Titans, end up re-signing him too or restructuring. He probably was not going to get that in the open market.
Jackson says, to be fair, the Patriots weren't expected to contend last year, and Diggs signed there.
But Diggs was the number one guy. He was the number one guy. Him coming in, they knew he was the number one guy.
That's true.
He caught 85 out of 102 targets last year.
He's still productive now.
It's pretty good. Not shattering, but solid.
615-737-1025. Nick Suss of the Tennessean one of his outside-the-box suggestions for the Titans this offseason. Dump Calvin Ridley, bring in Stefon Diggs. Your thoughts? 615-737-1025. Coming up next, Trevor Matich will join the program. I'm curious to hear what he has to say about the latest in the Brendan Sorsby story. We'll also talk to Trevor about Jeffrey Simmons and his new deal coming up next. 615-737-1025. We are broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. DMase, Vingan, and Donick, 1025. The Game. Willy Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. Trevor Matich will join us momentarily. One texter commenting on our previous segment said, well, that idea from Nick was just plain stupid. So what were his other ideas? First of all, Nick Suss, not stupid.
No.
Sharp as a tack.
It was
Very sharp.
Yes. But here.
Can we say one thing, just a quick update before we get to the other four?
Yes.
This is the kind of World Cup story that you like, Adam.
Off the wall?
A little bit off the wall.
Yeah.
We got England and Ghana playing right now. Of course, any game, any match with England is worth watching because the fans are crazy. And there's all this, is England finally going to win again? They would be a little bit like the Knicks, right? They haven't won in a long time. They have great fans. They're playing Ghana. There was a situation in the first half where two guys jump up and they bonk heads. One guy for England, one guy for Ghana. They go down. Of course, they act like they're never going to ever play again for a second. The medics come out there. It was classic. The England guy gets up and shakes it off, and he's okay. The Ghana guy, they decide to wrap his head in gauze for a head bonk. Now, Adam, you as a father of two youngsters, your son is 4. He would be at the prime age of this. You've had the kid that says, "Dad, my finger hurts," and you know what they're doing. They're not really hurt, but they just want a Band-Aid.
Yes, especially if it's a Paw Patrol Band-Aid.
Oh yeah. And so you get that, and magically you feel better. So this guy has been running around with a bandage on his head that looks absolutely ridiculous. He looks like the mummy. There didn't look like a cut or anything. It didn't look like he was bleeding.
No.
He just hit the back of his head, and he's been fine ever since. And so there's all these hilarious commentaries going on the social media, such as, hey, it looks like the NFL needs to look at this. This is a magical cure for concussions. Just wrap the guy's head up with gauze. Everything's fine. But by the way, it's 0-0, almost 60 minutes in. This would be a pretty big situation if England does not win.
Let's go to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in our friend Trevor Matich. Hello, Trevor. How are you?
Great, Adam. How are you doing?
We are doing well. Thank you so much for asking. So speaking of the World Cup, you and I were exchanging messages earlier today. You're enjoying the World Cup like the rest of us, and you made an interesting parallel between how the U.S. men's national team is playing and how the Tennessee Titans defensive line will play under Robert Saleh. I thought you should expand on that theory.
Yeah, I love the way the men's soccer team is playing this year. In the past, they've been too passive and were too affected when something bad happened, especially early. Someone scored a goal on them to go up 1-0, and our men's team would clutch their pearls and be all worried and be all cautious. Our women's team, on the other hand, you do something to them early, and you're in trouble because they're going to smash you in the mouth. They're going to come back and just go downhill at you. And the men now are playing like that. And what it made me think of is the new style of the defensive line for the Titans under Robert Saleh. Rather than catch blockers and eat them up so the linebackers can run around and make plays, the defensive line is going to get upfield. They're going to attack. They're going to create chaos and have the linebackers just clean up behind them. And that's one of the reasons that they wanted to lock in Jeffrey Simmons, made him the highest paid defensive tackle in the NFL. I mean, last year Simmons had personal bests in sacks, quarterback hits, tackles for loss, with an offense that didn't give him a whole lot of late leads where he could just really tee off. Well, this new style is right up his alley, and a lot of the new players that the Titans brought in via trade, free agency, and even the draft, these are guys that excel at going forward. I mean, Femi Oladejo excels going forward. He's struggling to learn the rest of it, but going forward hard is what he excels at. And so that's what made me think of that. I mean, in the USA match against Australia, the first goal happened because of aggressive attacking, breaking down the defense. And Balogun took the ball on the left wing, kind of closer to the goal, not way out wide. But the ball was pressed down the field so fast, so hard, and Balogun got so deep so quickly with his penetration that the defenders of Australia had to face their own goal and sprint towards their own goal in order to get into position. And Balogun fed the ball in on a crosser, and it wasn't a nuanced, subtle, accurate. No. He fired that ball in there, and it was accurate all right, but he hit it so hard that it ran into the legs of an Australian defender facing his own goal, running like crazy to try to catch up with Balogun on the wing, and it bounced off of the Australian defender into his own goal. And that happened because of aggressive attacking, creating chaos with the defense, and that's exactly what the Tennessee Titans are going to want to do with their defensive line in this new Robert Saleh style.
Speaking of Robert Saleh and his style, Trevor, last week we were talking about Saleh's plan for his pass rushers. He is going to try to limit the amount of snaps that they are on the field, specifically Jeffrey Simmons. Now, Saleh has been doing this throughout his NFL coaching career, so it's not something that he's implementing here for the first time. But I am curious for your opinion on how well you think that can work specifically for Jeffrey Simmons, because I went back and looked. Quinnen Williams, I believe it was in 2022, when Williams played for Saleh in New York. He played under 70% of the defensive snaps. He still had 12 sacks and was a first-team All-Pro. Jeffrey Simmons has been in the 80s in terms of the defensive play time rate. So how do you think it's going to work with Jeffrey Simmons looking to have a significant decrease in the number of snaps he's on the field?
I think it'll make Jeffrey Simmons even more effective when he is out there, because he won't get worn down so much. And later in the game, and especially later in the games, later in the season when it really matters, he will have fresher legs. And think of it like a hockey line. You know, everybody goes out there and they go so hard, so fast, that it's impossible that hockey line could maintain the entire game at that pace. But then they come off and the next line goes on. And that's exactly what the Titans defensive line is going to be expected to do. And that includes Jeffrey Simmons. I mean, there are a whole bunch of guys that individually are not nearly as good as Simmons. But because their skill, their biggest skill, is getting upfield, like John Franklin Myers that they got from the Broncos and Jermaine Johnson that they got from the Jets, these are guys that don't need to be as good as Simmons. They need to be fresh. They need to be aggressive. And just like Balogun's run against Australia, they need to be so far upfield that it breaks everything down. But to do that, you've got to be fresh. And so I like it that they're doing this for Jeffrey Simmons. It'll also extend his career if they're able to re-sign him after this extension, which I don't see why they wouldn't be able to. And overall, you know, what you're looking for is not how many minutes can a guy play. You're looking for how many plays can a guy make in the minutes that he plays. And so I think this is the smart thing to do.
Now, Trevor, the Titans have a lot of question marks on their roster. And those will not be answered until actually the season starts going. But what are your concern levels with two individuals in particular? J.C. Latham, who dealt with some hip issues last year, kind of sidelined for a minute, didn't get the start that he needed. And I don't think he really ever came into form. He started playing better, but I don't think we've seen the best of JC. And then Femi Oladejo, another guy that was sidelined, I think in week 6 or 7 of last year because of an injury. What's your concern level on those two guys coming into the season?
You know what, Derek, I'm not really worried about J.C. Latham. Mm-hmm. You know, for him, it's the health. He's got to stay healthy. But he lost weight, and I think that will help him to stay healthy. But his skill set coming out of Alabama, I think, translates exceptionally well to the NFL, especially at right tackle. And, you know, he's very quick. His problem at Alabama, pass setting at right tackle, wasn't that he wasn't quick enough to stay in front of those edge rushers out wide. It's that he would overset. I mean, he would be too quick. And that's the kind of thing that could be coached into a better situation. And so I think he's got everything that he needs to be one of the top 10 and eventually probably top 7 or so right tackles in the NFL. He's not there yet, but as long as he stays healthy, I'm not worried about him. Hips are a problem. So we'll have to monitor that and see how that is. With Femi, I'm actually really excited about him because at UCLA, he was an off-ball linebacker. Then his last year there, he was more of an edge rusher than he had ever been before. He showed a huge motor. He showed a lot of explosiveness, but he didn't show a lot of instincts because he didn't have time to build them up. So then he comes into the NFL, and it's a very nuanced position to be on the edge because so many things can happen to you out there, and you got to be ready to react to all of them and not just think about it for too long. Well, in this system, at least in the beginning, he won't be asked to process all that information, to process all that nuance. He'll be asked to get upfield, disrupt, and just break things. Just line up on a wide 9 position, so he's lined up wide on the edge most of the time, and then get upfield and create havoc. And the rest of the team will clean up behind him. And so I am cautiously optimistic that in that narrow role, Femi can be he can punch above his weight and have more actual effectiveness than he would have if he was asked to do everything all at once like he was when he first came into the league.
Now, a friend of the show, Nick Suss, wrote an article in the Tennessean entitled, "What Should the Titans Do Next? 5 outside-the-box offseason recommendations." And one of them was swapping out Calvin Ridley for Stefon Diggs. Do you think that would be a good move for the Tennessee Titans?
I don't, Derek. It's nothing against Diggs. I mean, he's a very talented guy. But you're looking at locker room chemistry that's already been developed between Ridley and Cam Ward, a quarterback. Ridley is the kind of a guy that when he's healthy and when he's playing well and when he's not trying to do too much, then he can be a number one receiver, or at least a number one caliber receiver. I think last year he tried to do too much, dropped a bunch of passes. But I think now with Tate and Robinson on the receiving core, I think that he's going to be able to settle into a role where he won't have to think that he has to carry all of the load himself. And I think the rapport that he's already built up with Ward is important. We've talked for years about how, a couple of years now, about how this team needs to be focused on the development of Cam Ward at quarterback. Because if he develops into the number one guy, they can build everything around him. If he's not that guy, they need to know it. And having a guy that he's already got a year under his belt with Calvin Ridley, I think is an investment that you'd have to really think twice before you'd abandon that.
Trevor Matich is with us. We're talking football with him. Trevor, let's go back to our old friend that's keeping us busy over the summer, Brandon Sorsby. Were you surprised that the NFL decided not to allow him into the supplemental draft?
Not really, because when you look at the NFL, their big priority is to protect the shield, protect the reputation of the league itself, right? And when you look at gambling issues, in the past, gambling among players has always been bad for business. And that's the last thing you want to be if you want an NFL career, is to be bad for business. But now that the NFL is in business with gambling entities, with legal gambling organizations, there's an even greater sensitivity to the possibility that a player might be influencing the outcome of games or outcome of player stats. Because now it's not just the reputation of the NFL, it is the pocketbook of the NFL. And if they lose credibility to some degree that costs them customers to their partners, it costs the NFL money. And so I think that this is exactly the wrong time for a guy like Sorsby, who's got long-term gambling issues, including gambling on his own team, to have to overcome with the league. And in not having the supplemental draft, the league actually protected the 32 teams from lawsuits. Because if they did have the draft and nobody picked him, and Sorsby sued alleging collusion, all he would need in discovery is for some league executive to have had a text message where he said, look, nobody should draft Sorsby because XYZ. Well, that might be evidence of collusion, and it will give the NFL all kinds of trouble. By the league stepping in and not having the supplemental draft, it took away any possibility of any embarrassments happening in discovery. And as we know now, the attorneys for Brendan Sorsby have said that they are going to take legal action against the NFL. So this all adds up to the NFL did the right thing, and they had to protect themselves, especially in this new age of legal gambling.
That makes a lot of sense, because I was thinking, why not just see if anybody wants to pick them? If they do, then you can suspend them, and then you give them a pathway back into the league. So, Trevor, should the NFL offer him an explanation and say, if you can do the following things, then we will consider your desire to be in our league, or whatever, however you want to put it? How long would that period be? Don't you have to give him some way to work his way back?
Well, he kind of sort of does, because he can still apply for the 2027 draft. And, you know, the NFL, if they start to give him ways that he can qualify for the 2027 draft, and then the league is just not satisfied with how he does, it opens it up to even more lawsuits. He could say, I was told to do this, and I did this, and the NFL said no anyway, and here comes a lawsuit. And so I think what the NFL is saying is that it's up to Sorsby to satisfy them. The supplemental draft is discretionary. It's not a requirement for the NFL to have. And just because Sorsby applied for it doesn't mean the NFL is triggered to have it. And in the letter to Sorsby that was leaked, explaining why they didn't allow or they aren't having the supplemental draft, part of what they said included that the application came in just a few days before the deadline, and it did not include a whole bunch of information from the NCAA's investigation of Sorsby, the things that Sorsby had admitted to, a whole bunch of things that Sorsby tried to do to mitigate it, like rehab and all the rest of the stuff that he tried to do. The NFL said in that letter that a lot of that information wasn't there yet, and that they didn't have time to vet Sorsby properly to have the supplemental draft. And so instead of saying, here's what you have to do, Sorsby, do this, this, and this, and then we'll consider it, what the NFL said was, we don't have information about this, that, and that, therefore we can't make a decision. That puts all of the onus back onto Sorsby and his representatives, and it does not open up the NFL for a lawsuit, at least not a successful one, I don't think.
Trevor Matich has been our guest on DMase, Vingan, Adonik. He joins us every Tuesday. Trevor, as always, a pleasure. We'll catch up next week.
Thanks, Adam. Thanks, guys.
615-737-1025. We'll react to what Trevor had to say. Some major trades happening in the NHL. None involving the Predators. Otherwise, we would tell you right now. But we'll discuss that. The NBA draft is tonight, and there was a seismic trade in the NBA overnight. We'll discuss all of that as much as we can fit into the next segment. Coming up next, Willy Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game.
Let's tell you about Loan Pronto. Remember, credit card interest rates are very high. You might have a car loan or two out there that is running you ragged in your monthly budget because of those interest payments. And many homeowners don't realize you can use the equity in your home to access hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash. And with Loan Pronto's rapid equity loan, you can pay off the credit cards. You can pay off that car loan or get money for a home improvement project if that's the angle you want to use it for. And there are a lot of great examples of Loan Pronto using their 2,800 five-star Google reviews. They've helped a lot of people. One client got $100,000 approved, saved over $1,500 a month. And with Loan Pronto, you can do all of this from your phone. So rates are at a near 3-year low. So go to loanpronto.com and see how much you can get in about 60 seconds. Zero out of pocket, no hard credit pull up front, no appraisal, no long drawn-out bank process. 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. That's 499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
DMase, Vingan, and Donick, 1025 The Game. Willy Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. Joey from Bellevue.
Yes.
With some breaking news on our text line. The Twin Peaks in Cool Springs has permanently closed.
Did they say why? We used to do a show from there, the Sunday show.
Yeah. According to Williamson's source, a sign posted on the door reads, "This location has been closed."
Wow.
Oh, man. Good times.
Huh?
Good times at the Twin Peaks in Cool Springs.
We had to go there. Yeah, we had to go there a few times.
I did the show from there with the one and only Chris Sanders.
Mm-hmm.
R.I.P.
Twin Peaks.
Cool Springs, Twin Peaks.
Is that the only one closing?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't frequent Twin Peaks.
I wasn't a frequent Twin Peaker.
Generally speaking. Willie, any thoughts on Twin Peaks and Cool Springs closing?
I don't think Willie ever been there, had you?
My favorite Twin Peaks story is one of the many travel tournaments I traveled with one or both of my kids. In this case, it was Mahoney. Mm-hmm. It was in Atlanta. We stayed in a hotel.
Did he learn to become a man at Twin Peaks?
Well, it's funny. We were just looking for something to eat after a game. And we're like, what's around our hotel? Hey, we went to this place last night. I didn't know anything about Twin Peaks.
Thank you, Connor.
So we come rolling into Twin Peaks like, okay, it's late. We just played. Just get something to eat.
How old are the kids? How old are the kids?
So Mahoney at this stage, I think, is like 14, 13.
That's the prime. That's the prime age.
And we walked in there like, whoa. What have we walked in on?
Oh my goodness,
all right,
man.
Well,
okay. So rest in peace.
Yes.
Rest in peace.
Moving on. There are still many fabulous Twin Peaks locations, but the one in Cool Springs has been closed, according to Joey from Bellevue. A lot of action happening in the NHL during the show. There was just a huge trade within the past 10, 15 minutes involving the St. Louis Blues and the Washington Capitals. The Blues trading Jordan Kyrou to the Capitals for a package that includes the number 16 pick in the first round of the draft. On Friday, the San Jose Sharks and Ottawa Senators also made a trade today involving the 9th overall pick in the NHL draft. So you might want to be watching and tuning in to this program over the next couple of days, because the NHL trade activity is firing on all cylinders.
And on one hand, you're like, save some of this action for draft night because you love the drama during the draft. Another one that's significant in my mind, not quite as headliner, but remember yesterday we had a really good guest talking.
Rachel Krychak of ESPN.com.
I thought she was outstanding. You can go back and listen to it.
Yes.
All of our interviews and shows you can go find on our podcast. But you asked her about that mid-20s player that might be available for a trade. Well, one of them that she mentioned actually got traded today.
Simone Nemitz.
He's
defenseman from he was on the New Jersey Devils.
Right.
He's now on the Calgary Flames. He was the second
overall pick.
4 years ago? 4 years ago?
Yeah. And they thought he had a quick rise to the NHL. They thought he was going to be a top pair defenseman for years and years in New Jersey. He's traded. So he's going to get a new start, but it took quite a bit for Calgary to get him. But, we listed off, or Rachel did, 4 or 5 of those players who are maybe a little mixed up, not quite fitting with the team that drafted them, and therefore they're kind of floating them around in trades. I think looking at the return of what it took to get Nemitz would be an interesting thing to file away. Just
2 first-round picks and a second-round pick involved in the package for Nemitz.
So New Jersey got 2 first-round picks?
2027 first from Vegas, a 2028 first from Colorado. So 2 late first-round picks and a second-round pick in 2026 from the Rangers.
All for Nemitz?
Yes. As part of a bigger package. Yeah. So
if there's a guy, like if it's Mason McTavish or if it's Matvei Mishkov.
If you're a Predators fan hoping that the team acquires one of those mid-20-something players who needs a change of scenery, you might need to be prepared to pay up.
Right. Would you feel good if that's the thing? The Predators trade a couple of future first-round picks to get a guy like that? Seems like a pretty decent-sized gamble to do that. But at the same time, Nemitz still could hit another level, and he could be a great player. It hasn't happened yet.
This is indicative of what the draft is going to look like, a bunch of trades.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Especially considering there are not a lot of unrestricted free agents that are going to be sought after. So if you want to really make –
you got to make trades.
If you want an impact player like a Jordan Kyrou or like some other guys who have been dealt here, obviously Brady Tkachuk, it's going to have to be via the trade.
One texter says, what was the package that Florida gave for Tkachuk? That was 3 first-round picks and I believe a second-round pick for Brady Tkachuk.
Yes. 3 firsts and a second.
3 firsts and a second. So it's something. And speaking of major trades, I woke up this morning and discovered what just happened.
Wow. England had a prime opportunity to score a goal.
Can we quickly talk about the chance Ghana had?
They had 2 chances, England, and just blew it.
It hit the cross. They had a header that hit the crossbar. The follow-up by Harry Kane, their great player. He kicked what looked like a field goal at Gillette Stadium that could have been made by Adam Vinatieri. He missed it so bad. It would have gone through the uprights if they were up in the field. But England has not been able to find a way to score Ghana is, I don't know, 10 or so minutes away from a 0-0 tie, which is what they entered the game. Ghana is dressed like a school bus, kind of the same colors as a school bus, and it's fitting. The term in soccer is you back up the bus and just play defense, just try not to let the other team score, play for the tie. That's kind of what they're doing.
There was a seismic trade in the NBA overnight. I did not see it until I woke up this morning. The Milwaukee Bucks finally traded Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's going to the Miami Heat. And here's what I love about NBA trades. We're talking about NHL trades and all of these picks flying around. NBA trades always make me laugh.
I never understand
because of just how much is involved. So the Bucks traded Giannis Antetokounmpo and Bobby Portis to the Miami Heat for a package headlined by Tyler Hero, but 4 players total in the trade, plus 3 first-round picks, 1 pick swap, and 1 second-round pick.
Pick swap.
The Heat are sending to Milwaukee unprotected first-rounders in 2031 and 2033. Stop.
2033?
So the player who the Bucks could draft in the first round of 2033.
How old is he?
Does he have hair on his chest yet?
No.
Is he coming in from recess right now?
Probably
like, how old is this? Like, that's what I love about the NBA. They're like, here, we'll give you this second rounder in 2067. Like that, it is very funny.
It never, for a guy as great and unique as Giannis, it just doesn't ever seem to the other team to get, like the Bucks. Tyler Hero's a really good player. So, by the way, Connor, another Kentucky guy for you. Any thoughts on Tyler Hero?
Happy for him. He gets a fresh start. He gets to go home. He's from Wisconsin, so happy for him.
Oh,
good for him.
Insight.
The Bucks are going to stink.
Poor Bucks.
They're going to stink out.
Era's over. They got the ring though.
Yeah.
They got the one ring.
That's all that really matters.
And what was the thing they called where they were all watching the game?
Fear the Deer.
Was it the Deer Park or like what was the area where they all watched the game? It was definitely Fear the Deer. I forget if they had a name for it.
I don't know.
I don't remember that one. I remember
the Deer District.
They got the championship though.
The Deer District.
The Deer District. Yeah.
Well, they got their championship.
Fear the Deer. So the NBA draft starts tonight. We'll talk about that. We'll see where Nate Ament and Tyler Nickel could go in the NBA draft. I believe the NBA draft is now being split over 2 nights, which is strange. I don't love that. What I used to love about the NBA draft was you could sit down and watch the whole thing in just a couple of hours, as opposed to the NFL draft, which takes like 4 days. But we'll get into the NBA draft in the final hour. 615-737-1025. Coming up next, last week on the program, we had Nick Baumgartner of The Athletic, and he wrote a film study about Cam Ward. And when we had him on the show to discuss it, he brought up a name who came to mind as he was watching Cam Ward's film. And I'm wondering how we feel about that comparison. And we'll discuss that coming up next. 615-737-1025. Willy Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game.
That was just awesome.
So
they had 2 shots.
I would have read this text, but Chase told me. I don't know if Chase DMase, Vingan, and Donick, 1025. The Game. Willy Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, and Connor Newt here with you on your drive home. We hope you are having a wonderful Tuesday and you had an excellent day at work. We're having an excellent day at work. We've covered a lot of things. Peanut butter and jelly, the Titans. We had Trevor on the show. We've got so much to discuss. We'll keep you abreast of any other NHL or NBA trades that may go down during this hour. The NBA draft is upon us tonight. We'll see what happens there. But we're going to start the hour by discussing something heard on our program last week. So last week, we had Nick Baumgartner of The Athletic on our show because he wrote a film study of Cam Ward. And Baumgartner is optimistic that Cam Ward can make a leap in year 2. So we had him on the show to break down his film study. And at one point during our conversation, I asked Baumgartner, when you watched Cam Ward's rookie tape, did it remind you of any other recent first-year quarterbacks? Here is what Nick Baumgartner said.
To me, it reminded me of what I thought we would see from Bryce Young as a rookie, and we didn't. Bryce Young fell apart, right? So he started out with this horrible, nothing around him. It was a worse situation than what the Titans had, but it wasn't good. And he fell apart. He fell off the rails. I thought Cam Ward, it was going to be the same type of thing for him, but it was so he doesn't remind me of necessarily anybody in recent years, but it's what I thought we would have seen from Bryce Young, because Cam, to me, and now we're seeing Bryce Young settle down and playing much better as a older player. But Cam Ward, to me, is a more athletic and physically powerful version of Bryce Young. They played a lot. They're very similar. Like you said, they can hunt throws. That can still work in the NFL if you're going faster and playing on time and in rhythm. And so he reminds me of Bryce Young, and I think that the track is going to be, you can't get down if it's not looking perfect at the beginning. You just got to let him work through it and let him keep going. And over time, I think it's going to even itself out. So I think those two guys are a little similar in my book.
Quickly, before we get back to Bryce Young and Cam Ward, one texter says, abreast with a space between A and B. Abreast with no space. Abreast is one word. It means to keep you informed of.
Yeah. On top of things.
Right. Yes. Keep abreast. We will keep you informed on things that happen. Again, our job on this show is to educate you in more ways than one. So go home and say, honey, DVD kept me abreast of the
Ghana, England,
of the news of the day in sports.
The dreaded 0-0 tie.
And
your draw.
And your wife might say, how dare you? Whose breast? A breast. All right. Let's get back to business here. So Bryce Young. And when I heard that, part of me shuddered a little bit because of how Bryce Young's NFL career has started. Of course, like Cam Ward, Bryce Young was the first overall pick in the 2023 NFL draft. And to say that Bryce Young's early NFL career has been a roller coaster would be an understatement. He was benched at one point, if memory serves. He did
in year 2.
He did lead the Panthers to a wild card appearance in the postseason this past season. And the Panthers hung around with the Los Angeles Rams. They lost 34-31, a game that was played in Charlotte, by the way. So let's unpack.
They were an 8-9 division winner,
yes,
and got to host a really good Rams team.
Yes,
that might have been good enough to win the whole thing in the first round.
As someone who cheers for a team in the NFC South, I can tell you it was not murderer's row this past season. But the Panthers did win the division, nevertheless. But let's unpack this here, because if you were to tell a Titans fan, hey, in year 4 of Cam Ward, entering year 4 of Cam Ward, you're going to be having the same conversations that people in Carolina are having about Bryce Young. I don't think Titans fans want anything to do with that. Now, you heard Baumgartner say that the major difference between Young and Ward was that when the going got tough, Ward kept going. Unlike in Carolina, where Bryce Young needed to take a breather for a little bit. The mental toughness was not there. But, Willie, when you hear that comparison, Bryce Young, Cam Ward, you look at the trajectory of Young's early career, you look at where Ward is after his first year, what do you make of Baumgartner's comparison there?
I'm intrigued. I think there are a lot of parallels. At the same time, I don't look at Bryce Young because I was a little surprised that they thought stylistically there were some similarities, because I thought Bryce Young, the rap always was first overall pick and a guy at 5'11", that doesn't happen very often, right? Or whatever his height is. But I do think I can see Cam Ward having more ups and downs before he gets to the playoffs. And the bottom line is, if Cam Ward gets the Titans to the playoffs in year 3, that's not all bad. I do think if you look at Young's numbers, he's gotten a lot better, but he still has a long way to go. So you tell me how you answer that, DMase.
I guess there would the comparison here, I think, and I'm sure we'll get into this even more in depth this week, but I think the comparisons, there are some stylistic, there are some probably not so much, because there was no, when Bryce came out, his thing wasn't accuracy. Bryce was probably one of the most accurate passers in college football coming out, but there was some reservations on drafting him number 1 overall because of his height. So there was some question marks with both guys, but I think both guys got dropped into situations where it wasn't advantageous for either one of them. Because there was two, organizations that were sort of in the same space. Now, I think what they did with Bryce Young has, made his job a little bit better, and hopefully that's what the Titans will do with, with Cam, and they have done, and hopefully it just materialized to something good during the season. But I think both of these guys have some of the same traits, and I don't see comparing him to Bryce Young. I don't think that's too far out of the box, considering what I explained. Now, listen, the way they play the game is a little bit different. I think they both have some things that they do alike, but I think if you watch them stylistically, you would know that, okay, that's Cam and that's Bryce. But even in that, I think there are still some similarities. So I'm not up in arms that he compared him. I don't think it's a necessarily bad thing, because now we see what Bryce Young is capable of doing. Does he need to get better? Yes. But I don't think that's the worst thing to be compared to Bryce Young, considering what both guys sort of, landed themselves into.
I have a question for you, Adam, since you watch that division some, following the Saints the way you do. I'm wondering, because I honestly have not watched Carolina a whole lot. It looks to me like Young has gotten better, but the roster certainly has gotten better as well. So is he really doing way better because he's carrying them? I don't see that. I just think the roster has gotten better. They're 8-9. It's not a dominant team at all, but it's an improved team because they were way, way down at the bottom, and they had a lot of things going against them before, right? They traded a lot of assets just to get Bryce Young.
And I do think that trade put Young behind the 8 ball, so to speak, because that trade involved DJ Moore going from, Carolina to Chicago, right? So there goes your number 1 wide receiver. If I recall correctly, Young's number 1 wide receiver his rookie year was Adam Thielen.
Yes.
And Adam Thielen, not the
Past
Adam Thielen you remember from Minnesota, an older Adam Thielen. But to Derek's been talking about this. The Panthers went out last year and drafted a number 1 wide receiver for Bryce Young and Ted McMillan. And McMillan had a solid season. Correct me if I'm wrong, offensive rookie of the year?
70 catches, 14.5 yards a catch, 1,014 yards, 7 touchdowns.
So, of course, there's a parallel.
Rookie of the year, yes.
There's a parallel with the Titans drafting Carnell Tate, number 4 overall. I think McMillan was 9th overall. Tate 4th overall. So you're hoping that Ward and Tate can develop the chemistry that Young and McMillan have. But it is really interesting because Young was a more heralded prospect coming out of college than Cam Ward was. But I do think the players are similar, as Nick Baumgartner brought up. I think both of them have that desire to just let it rip, throw the ball deep, try to get it into tight windows, make huge plays. But of course, if you're a Titans fan, you're hoping that Ward's career gets off to a much smoother start than Young's. And I do think that that Ward's, and I know it's intangible, Ward's mental toughness seems to be ahead of Young's. So the fact that Ward went through what Willy calls the gasoline fire last year, played every snap until he injured himself in the final game, you're hoping that perhaps Ward can avoid some of the traps that Young fell into on his way to where he is right now.
I also made this point last year, DMase. If you take Bryce Young's stats, take the win-loss out of it, because the first year was so miserable.
2-14.
And Cam is 3-14. Whatever, yeah. And, he's going to get the loss for the last start, and he played, one series or whatever. That's kind of how that works. But take the other numbers. If Cam Ward progresses like Bryce Young, gets a little bit better. Of course, Young took a step back in the second year. But even if he has the numbers that Young had last year in year 3, I think Titans fans will be dissatisfied. They're going to want more just because of the expectations that go from being the first pick in the draft.
Of course. I mean, listen, if you don't come out and, being the number 1 pick overall, not being a first round pick, but being the number 1 pick overall, there's just this, thought, oh, you should be, much better, and your numbers should look like this in your second year. And, part of it is right. You should be, the biggest jump is from your first year to your second year. So we should see a different Cam Ward, not just necessarily in his stats, but how he goes about, in leading his team, and how does he look in certain situations. But if you look at Bryce Young, he's gotten better every year.
He's gotten better, but he started so low.
Yes.
Like last year, he finished QBR 47.6, ranked 25th. He's better.
Yeah, he's taken
but
a
how
step
much
back? Because his first year he was at 34, then he got to 50.
You're hoping that Cam Ward, when he is entering his 4th year in the NFL,
no, it's third year.
This will be Young's fourth year.
Yes.
This will be Young's 4th year in the NFL. Yeah. You're hoping that when Cam Ward is entering his 4th year in the NFL, he's significantly ahead of where Young is right now. I would hope so.
If you are looking at wins in basic yardage, then yes. But if you look at just say, for instance, his completion rate went up, his sack percentage went down, his success rate went up. So there are things within all these metrics that his numbers, as far as how many yards he's thrown. Now you got to understand, the second year, his first year, he threw almost 550 passes. The next following year, he only attempted 384. So what they said wasn't, and listen, he didn't play as many games, but
because he got benched.
Exactly. We're gonna slow this thing down for him and see how that worked. Well, his interception percentage, that ended up going up, but a lot of other things, if you're talking about his metrics, a lot of other things end up working in his favor. So does he have 3,000, 4,000 yards passing? Does he have 20 or 30 touchdowns? No, he doesn't. But I think if you look in between the numbers, he has gotten better, which means their team is getting better and they're surrounding people with him. So when I look at Cam, when we talk about the small things, the margins, I want to see if he's getting better around the margins, which I think would inherently make him better as a quarterback.
I think I would put it this way. Take the numbers aside. When you're watching, I don't think Bryce Young has gotten to a point where they're winning because of Bryce Young. You're hoping when you draft a quarterback first that eventually, and he's you hope is going to make it happen here pretty soon. If you're a Carolina
he's
fan.
had a couple of big games. I feel like he had like a 450-yard passing game at some point.
But he's not carrying that team.
No,
not week in and week out.
He had a 448-yard game during the season.
I would hope by the end of the third year that Cam Ward is going to have a few more of those games where you said, okay, he's starting to become the leader. He's starting to drive them. Right now, he's just trying to survive, right? And they've made some moves with the roster that you hope will help him. But I'm trying to look ahead by the end of the third year. I'm hoping that there's big progress, a big jump from year 2 to year 3.
He needs to have
bigger than where Young was last year.
He needs to have, and it doesn't necessarily need to stop right where I'm saying the game he needs to have, but he needs to have a Will Levis type game. That game where Will Levis had 3 or 4 touchdowns and was
his debut game.
He was just lights out. He needs one of those games, and he needs to build upon that game. It doesn't need to be like that every game, but we need to see that you can carry the team or you can make the plays when the plays need to be made.
615-737-1025. Nick Baumgartner of The Athletic joined us on the program last week, wrote a film study of Cam Ward, said that Cam Ward's rookie film reminds him in many ways of Bryce Young. Your thoughts, 615-737-1025. Coming up next, I saw a story listing the best and worst case scenarios for every NFL team in 2026. We'll see if we agree with what it says about the Titans coming up next. 615-737-1025. Willy Dunnick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game. DMase, Vingen, and Donick, 1025 the game, as they say. Never trust a big butt in a smile.
It's a remix, man. I like it.
So
what's the theme?
Does Connor know the original song? Does he know where this is from? This sample?
I'm sure he knows the
Bell Biv DeVoe.
Nice.
Well done.
So what was the theme today?
So the theme today has been mashups.
Oh,
I don't know if you noticed.
Okay.
It's
Yeah, I have.
Yes.
Cha-cha slide with
Yeah.
little Michael Jackson.
I started to dance to one, and I was like, "Oh, it's switching on me."
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
That was the goal.
I like it. I like it.
But Connor, just remember this as you get older. Never trust a big butt in a smile.
She's
Yeah.
dangerous.
Yeah, it is.
Poison.
It is dangerous.
Yeah.
Willie knows what I'm talking about. Does he?
Bell Biv DeVoe?
Let's just leave it there.
I was about to say, huh? How would Willie know? That's what
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you know this, but
Stop it.
Don't try to relate to me. What do you?
Willie isn't as clean cut as you think he is.
Hey, stop it. I don't want to. Hey,
Ooh.
listen.
The leather jacket, the greased back hair for Willy Donick back in the day.
Rolled up pants.
Willie looking like Kaniki from Greece.
Kaniki.
Kaniki.
A hickey from Kaniki is like a Hallmark card. That's the saying.
I do love that movie.
Willie
It's the
Donick.
best movie in
Willie
the world.
Donick would have been a greaser in the 1950s.
What? Yeah, I think so.
I do try to figure. I was thinking about Animal House the other day too. Kind of the same. The 60s.
You would definitely be an animal.
Not Danny Zuko.
I would
Willie
not-
Donick.
Am I more Delta House or the what is it? The
Lamb
Omega,
Delta.
whatever, the Marmalade, Anita Ryder, the straight lace.
You're an Omega guy.
I'm not going there.
You're not an Omega guy.
I can hang with the Deltas.
Oh man.
Oh boy. All right. Before I get myself in trouble, CBSSports.com had a story looking at the best and worst case scenarios for every NFL team. And here are the entries for best case and worst case scenario for the Tennessee Titans in 2026. Quote, the new leadership in Nashville works. Robert Saleh's second stint as a head coach proves far more successful than his first with the Jets. Cam Ward thrives with Brian Daboll as his offensive coordinator, especially with first-round wideout Cardinal Tate exploding out of the gate. Ward enjoys a strong year two leap after flashing that potential during the second half of last season. With better coaching, Ward's emergence, and a defense improved by key offseason additions like Jermaine Johnson and Alontae Taylor, Tennessee becomes a wild card team in the AFC playoff picture. Best case scenario. Worst case scenario. Ward doesn't take the leap everyone is hoping for in year two, and the coaching staff doesn't seem up to the task. Saleh confirms that he is a great defensive coordinator, but doesn't have what it takes to lead an entire franchise. And the Titans finish last in the AFC South for the fourth season in a row.
Well, if the latter happens, then, I mean, goodness gracious. It's not going to look good around here.
Now, that best case scenario, a wild card team in the AFC playoff picture. We see so many worst to first turnarounds in the NFL. This would not be one of them because the Titans would be a wild card team in this scenario. They would not be winning the AFC South. But is that rosy for a best case scenario, being a playoff team this coming season?
I think it is, considering where they've been.
I'll go. I'm sorry, Derek. I'll go with what I think it was Mike Herndon told us last week. I want the Titans to be in the hunt graphic in like week 15. Like, will they probably make the playoffs? No, they would need a lot to break their way. But when they show the standings on the screen, it says in the hunt, Tennessee, 6-9 or whatever it is. That would be a best case scenario for me.
There are times where in the hunt, they put the record like, are they really in the hunt? Are they really in the
hunt? They have not been eliminated from playoff contention.
But they only got 4 or 5 wins, and it's like, okay, are they
but
really?
You know what? As a Titans fan, you will absolutely take that based on everything you've watched for the past few years.
Answer this, and our listeners can answer this too, because I think I felt a little bit different about this team last year, even though I did pick them to win 7 games, something like that, 8 games. But I think the enthusiasm for this team is a little bit different than what it was last year. And I think a lot of it has to do with Saleh and
better
Debo.
or worse.
I think it's better.
Yeah.
I think because even when Callahan took the job, the question was, he's never been a play caller. He's never did this. He's never did that. He's, first year. Well, you don't have those with Saleh, nor do you have it with Debo. Both of those guys shown that they can be successful, at least in part of their role. Now, Debo showed it a little bit more than Saleh because Debo was able to lead his team to a playoff. But there's not as many questions coming in or coming out of the hire than we had last year at this time with Callahan. So I think just from that, that's a plus. So I'm wondering, is people's enthusiasm, is Titan fans' enthusiasm, not to say that they're going to go out here and make the playoffs or win 12, 13 games. No, but compared to what it was last year, seeing the guys that they've drafted, the free agents that they brought in, are you a little bit more
optimistic
about this season compared to last year?
Well, I think Titans fans would wholeheartedly say they are more optimistic about this season than last season because of a lot of the things you mentioned. There's always excitement about a new coach. Mm-hmm. And although Robert Saleh is not an offensive guru, he has called plays as a defensive coordinator, and he will be calling the defensive plays for the Titans. You bring in an experienced offensive coach in Brian Daboll versus the inexperienced coaches that the Titans had last year. You're hoping that Cam Ward's second half was a sign of things to come. They drafted Cardell Tate, who's making one-handed grabs in practice.
Slow motion.
In slow motion. That's the key part, in slow motion.
Exactly.
Jeffrey Simmons just signed a monster deal, and he had the season of his life, and you're hoping he builds off of that. So there is reason to feel a lot more optimistic. But how much, there's one thing to feel optimistic. Mm-hmm. It's another thing to be, okay, I'm optimistic, but I still think this team ceiling is 6 wins.
Yes, I think that's very fair. Maybe 7, but 6 would double the win. So you're moving in the right direction. One thing that jumped out to me, and you've mentioned him a couple times, is Cardell Tate. The best case, he explodes out of the gate or wherever they said there. I would be blown away if that happens. I would be so excited because I just feel like that's a high expectation that I'm not sure is realistic with the running game they have. They're still going to be sorting out the offensive line. It's a new offense. It's not like Cardell Tate has great players around the field to support him. I think it's going to take a little time. I'm more intrigued. I want to see what it looks like in the second half of the season. The exploding out of the gate, I'm not counting on that. I thought that was a little bit strange. But we are talking, quote, best case scenario.
Yeah, when it comes to Cardell Tate, it to me is not about, at least not the first year. It's not about the numbers to me. Now, he needs to be productive when you look at the numbers because that sometimes can justify some things. But what is he doing on third down? Is he making those key clutch catches? That's what AJ was doing his rookie year. AJ didn't have a bunch of catches, but he made the key ones and he advanced the ball on third down and he broke tackles and he did things like that. So it wasn't like they were targeting him 150 times, but he made do with the targets that he had. And that's what I want from Cardell Tate. Is if he gets over 1,000 yards, great. That's perfect. But if he doesn't, I want to see where his impact was in each game because you can catch a lot of footballs and not have an impact. I want to see what his impact in the game. That's why, to me, it's not necessarily about everything isn't about the numbers when it comes to Cardell Tate's rookie year. I think what is his impact going to bail him out? Is he going to be able to do that?
CBS Sports, by the way, also said the Titans had the 5th best offseason of any team in the NFL. The only teams apparently who had better off seasons, the LA Rams at 4, the Jets at 3, the Raiders at 2, and the Browns at 1.
Was that pre
no
Myles Garrett?
No, this just happened. Like this just happened.
Oh wow, okay.
So is there a bell cow move that is a defining move that makes them fifth?
Let's see here. Let's see what they wrote about the Titans. Here's part of it. I won't read the whole thing. Tennessee entered the offseason with a treasure chest of financial resources as well as an entrenched starting quarterback. Robert Saleh was a candidate deserving of a second chance to be an NFL head coach, but the coaching staff's decision to bring in several players with which they are familiar, Jermaine Johnson, Wan'Dale Robinson, and Daniel Bellinger, may ultimately determine whether or not this regime is successful. If it does not work out, prognosticators will point back to this offseason as an indication they had not learned lessons from prior shortcomings. It also mentioned signing John Franklin Myers, bringing in Solomon Thomas, Alante Taylor, Cordell Flott, Carnell Tate, so on and so forth.
But that's exactly, I mean, I hate to bring up the name, but that's exactly what New England did. They went out and, got some key veterans that were, either here or had some type
of Vrabel's guys,
some connection to Vrabel. And they had their quarterback and they built on that and it worked for them. So the Titans going out and get Myers and Flott and those guys that have either played in a solid system or have been productive throughout the NFL. They're not necessarily old guys, but there are guys that are still going to give you 2 or 3 really good years. That can help a team like the Titans because it can do exactly what their transactions and free agencies can do exactly what it did for New England. And I'm not saying it may not get them to the Super Bowl, but it could get them the sort of worst to second sort of deal where it puts them in a playoff, and then after that you kind of let chips fall where they may. But I just look at the Titans team as this team had a lot to work out of, a lot to sort of dig themselves out of. I think they've done a good job at that with the free agents they acquire and the draft picks. Now, the only way it's going to work is if those free agents that they brought in continue to play the way they had been playing prior to getting here.
By the way, a lot of people on our text line like the word abreast. Perhaps abreast should have been the word of the day.
I mean, I'm a little disappointed. You have not really used the word of the day since the beginning of the show when you introduced it.
You know what? That is a fair point. I will try
to. If it's going to be the word of the day, we got to figure out how to get it in there.
I will try to sneak in the actual word of the day in the final segment. What I'm also learning about our listeners is not only do they want to be knowledgeable and learn more words, a lot of them are juvenile because they just like the word abreast.
In the way that Beavis and Butthead would make jokes about certain words. Yeah.
You said breast.
One thing I never thought I would ever hear on the show, Derek Mason imitating Beavis and or Butthead.
That was the greatest moment of my life.
I used to watch it back in the day.
Oh, yeah. Those guys went away for a while, but the SNL skit with
Ryan Gosling.
Oh, my gosh. That was...
They're back now. I think they did a reboot of the show.
Reboots are never good. I watched, speaking of Beavis and Butthead and Mike Judge, I watched the reboot of King of the Hill. I think it was last year.
No go.
Some things are better left the way they were.
Yeah. Sometimes you don't need to do the reboot.
Not everything needs to be rebooted. 615-737-1025. We'll wrap up the show. Coming up next, I'll also try to squeeze in the word of the day. Willy Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game. A Nirvana Michael Jackson mashup to end the show from Connor Newt. How about that?
I like that. That's innovative.
This is a true mashup here.
Yes.
I had to do some research for this one.
Is that cutting edge, Willie?
That would be cutting edge.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Hey.
Yeah.
You're growing up, young man.
Well done, Mr. Newt.
All right.
I think I've proven myself today.
There you go.
I know
Yes.
Belle Biv DeVoe, I know Beavis and Butthead, and I know Nirvana.
There you
Okay.
I
go.
think I've proven myself.
You're getting there.
He's a savant.
You're getting there. On tomorrow's program, Willie will take his first ever bite of an Uncrustable. As we talked, as we discussed, I am going to bring so my wife and I, we just bought this gigantic freezer that we have in our attic now, just because we have so much stuff in the freezer and not enough room in the actual freezer. And there are a ton of Uncrustables in there. So
you stock up.
Yes.
So when you say attic, do you mean upstairs?
Yes.
Why did y'all put it upstairs?
Well, we didn't have room for it anywhere else.
Oh, okay.
I mean, like,
No, I was just thinking like that's the first time I heard. Nothing wrong with it. But
do
that's the first
people
time
have basements in Tennessee? Are basements a thing in Tennessee?
I have
Sure.
one.
Okay.
They're not
I got
as
one.
common as they are up north, where northeast.
Where I grew up,
basements
where
was a
I grew
thing.
up, there were no basements. It was mostly attics.
You didn't have basements?
I did not have a
Oh
basement.
yeah, we had basements.
But I will bring you one, and we will have you eat it live on air. That's the best
Crustable.
content. The best content. It's an uncrustable because there are no crusts. It's not a crustable. It's an uncrustable because a crustable would just be a regular peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Yeah, you're right.
I guess you could say that's cutting edge.
Yeah, very much so.
Unintended.
I see what you did there. Greg Wyshynski of ESPN.com will join the program tomorrow as well. He was supposed to join us today, but he was at the NHL's Board of Governors meetings, and that ran long. So we were happy to reschedule Greg for tomorrow. He'll join us near the top of the program. Coming up, I don't know if it starts right at 6 o'clock, maybe 7 o'clock, the first round of the NBA draft. And I am curious where some of the quote-unquote local players will go. Nate Ament, star freshman for the Tennessee Vols, is projected to go 9th overall to Dusty May in the Dallas Mavericks. Get used to saying that. Jacoby Gillespie, point guard from Tennessee, projected to go 41st in the second round to Miami, joining Giannis Antetokounmpo. Right after Gillespie in this mock draft, Felix Okpara, also from Tennessee, projected to go 42nd overall to the San Antonio Spurs. And then later in the second round, 55th overall, Tyler Nickel, projected to go to the world champion New York Knicks.
Wow, wouldn't that be something?
Willie, what do you make of Tyler Nickel's pro prospects?
Well, I think we know that Tyler Nickel could be perfect for put the guy in the corner on a team that's got a lot of guys who can make plays, Brunson, whatever. Let's just take the Knicks. I mean, he's got a lightning quick release. He's not going to be the focal point of an offense, but he's going to make the threes. The question for him would be, can he defend well enough, rebound well enough? Because he doesn't have to do a whole lot else on offense, right? He's going to be a guy that is a dead eye shooter.
He's going to be a 3-point.
Can he do enough? I think it's you never know. Like there are guys that play in the league for a long time. I'll give you one who's way different type of player than Nickel, but Tobias Harris. He played at Tennessee what seems like eons ago. He's played in the league for a long, long time. He was a great college player, but I wasn't thinking Tobias Harris is going to play in the league for, I don't know how many years he's been in the league now. It's got to be 10 or 12. He played for Bruce Pearl.
Yeah.
At Tennessee.
It's a long time ago.
It's been a long time.
The person I'm interested in is Opara.
Yeah.
Because I think is he a scorer? He's not a scorer. Can he get you some putbacks and dunks? Yeah. But I want to see how he adapts defensively, because he was a heck of a defensive player, in college. Will that translate for him? Because I think that's going to be his niche to start, is, a guy that plays excellent defense, can give you some buckets, more so on a wing and a fast break and some putbacks, but a guy that is a high level defensive guy. So I'm interested to see if he may even go a little bit higher than what they got him projected.
Now, if this mock draft from ESPN is correct, and Tyler Nickel is drafted by the New York Knicks, and the New York Knicks repeat as NBA champions, will Tyler Nickel be stopped by NYPD during the parade, like Tyler Kolek was last week? Is Tyler Nickel recognizable enough to not be stopped by the New York Police Department?
As a rookie, especially.
Yes.
Depends on what he's doing as a rookie.
AJ DeBanza of BYU is expected to be the number 1 overall pick to the Washington Wizards. I would also like to congratulate all of the Memphis Grizzlies fans listening on drafting Cameron Boozer, because that's what's probably going to happen. But the interesting one, of course, is in between DeBanza and Boozer, and that's Darren Peterson. Darren Peterson is expected to go 2nd overall to the Utah Jazz. Remember, he had serious cramping issues at Kansas.
Right.
And I think there were some questions about his commitment level. Remember, I think there were a couple of times where he seemed to check himself out of games.
Right.
But
to the point where his coach was
Bill
Self.
Yeah, Bill Self himself was indeed baffled by it. So apparently it won't be an issue because he's expected to go top 2 in the draft. But I wonder if it's a risk. How big of a risk is it?
I mean, if they're taking him, if someone's going to draft him that high, I don't think they, how we looked at it, they're not looking at it that way, or how some looked at it, they're not looking at it that way. If indeed he goes anywhere in the top 5 or top 10, to me, he reminds me of Kawhi Leonard. He has a complete game, offense, defense, mid-range, 3-pointer. He can get to the basket. He can create on his own. So, and that's really the only knock on him, is, how is he going to adapt from a, you can't just take yourself out of the game standpoint, or you can't just sit down because, you're tired. I mean, sit out games because you're tired. How does he adapt to the pro game? But I think he's going to be a hell of a player, barring injuries. But it's those other things that I think, some people are worried about. But if you're drafting him 2nd overall, I don't think that's your concern.
Here's my question for the two of you. Which SEC player who is expected to be drafted tonight will have the best pro career, and why is it Darius Acuff?
I was going to say Darius Acuff.
I'm impressed with Acuff. The other guy where's Brazil? Is he going to be drafted?
Let's take a look.
That's another guy.
He is expected to be drafted in the 2nd round.
Okay.
You forgot about known 3-game participant of the Kentucky Wildcats season, Jaden Quaintance.
Well, excuse me. I apologize
It's okay, I forgot about it
to Connor and all of the other Wildcats fans out there. I mean, who are some of the other choices?
Well, Acuff is at the headline. I mean, I'm still having nightmares from the SEC tournament.
Amen.
Sure. Yes. Who else off the top of my head? I can't think of anybody else off the top of my head. LeBaron Philon from Alabama. No, it's going to be Acuff. He's going to have the best pro career.
I nobody that you've said hits where I believe Acuff will go.
I love Acuff, but you got to give. I mean, amen. You just hadn't. He was injured.
And he's so young.
Yeah, and he's so young. So he may have the highest upside.
But Acuff has that I can take over a game.
He does.
All by myself attitude. And he did it many times.
And I do think, the DAWG, I think he's got that. I think he is ferocious, Acuff. Yeah. And amen. I want to see a little bit more of that. Mm-hmm. I do think he will grow into that more. I think he's a competitor, but just that hard-nosed toughness, I want to see a little bit more. I think Acuff's got him beat on that.
Yeah, I would
agree
for right
with that. Now. Right now at their stage.
I would agree with that. I do love the NBA draft for this reason. As someone who watches college basketball all season long, I actually know these players. Mm-hmm. Of course, I'm going to watch the NHL draft on Friday and listen to our coverage, anchored by Willy Donick and Max Hers and others. But I haven't seen any of those kids play. I know nothing about them. And along similar lines with the NFL drafts, because I don't watch college football the way I watch college basketball. So I know the top players in college football. But like what I love about the NBA draft is I can watch the second round and be like, yeah, I know that guy. I know that guy. So the NBA draft is my favorite draft to actually sit down and watch. So
one, it goes by pretty quick.
It does go by pretty quickly. The other thing too is I sent this to the group earlier. I believe Kentucky has the all-time record for most first-round picks with 60, Duke at 59. That's changing tonight.
It's at least tying.
Yes, I think there will be two Duke players drafted in the first round tonight.
I think there will be one Kentucky player,
yes,
so to speak. So we'll be tied.
Cameron Boozer will be drafted probably 3rd overall. Isaiah Evans will probably be in the early to mid-20s somewhere. So it's always a fun night. It's always fun to watch players realize their dreams, no matter the league, NBA, NHL, so on and so forth. Quickly, before we get out of here, one texter says, hey, I just heard a great dad joke. What did Spartacus say after a lion ate his annoying wife?
Spartacus say after
What did Spartacus say after a lion ate his annoying wife? Nothing. He was gladiator.
I like that one.
And that is a fitting way to end the program.
That's a
is.
If you've ever wondered,
Not
what it would be like to hear Willy Donick eat an Uncrustable, you need to be tuned in tomorrow at 3:00 because he is going to take his first ever bite. But we actually do have other things to talk about tomorrow. Greg Wyshynski of ESPN will join the program as we talk about this nutso NHL offseason and look ahead to the NHL draft. We'll see what else we get into tomorrow at 3:00. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. We'll talk to you then.
Be loved, love on your people. Have a safe and blessed, wonderful day. I love you. The team loves you. You hear that music. Don't you forget about us because we will not forget about you. We will be back on these airwaves starting at 3 p.m. tomorrow on 102.5. And as I always say, we're going to be talking and you're going to be listening. Peace.
You could be listening. Sorry.
Too late.